Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. So today, like I said, we are wrapping up this whole thing about power. I got this whole idea from, I saw an old YouTube video or something with an informational, remember the Guppy Rinker infomercials from the 90s? And I bought hook, line, and sinker. I bought stuff, I bought stuff all over the place. Just, I bought the personal power, find the giant within, all of that stuff. Oh, Lisa, I hope, Lisa needs a ride. Help somebody. We got to find your ride. I know you're praying about it, Lisa. I want you here. Elaine says mindfulness meditation helps me to focus better. Absolutely. Meditation. If I didn't meditate, then I'd be a complete disaster. I probably would forget to come here. So anyway, meditation is one of the keys, but we're talking today about finding the power of your soul. And, I just keep looking at the whole personal power thing from back in the Tony Robbins infomercial Guppy Rinker days, and just, it seemed really cheesy at the time, but you know what? Those principles have held up. But the one thing that I think that they don't address maybe nearly as deeply as, they're talking about the power within and the power here and the power there and the power there. It's the power of our beautiful selves, really. And so often what happens is, we just get caught up in all of the outside stuff. What does our house look like? What do we look like? What does this look like? What does our family look like? Are they all well scrubbed and presentable? Do they have manners? Do they have all of this? And it's all about the outward appearances. And while, certainly that's important, you don't want to be showing up looking like you're homeless and just fell out of a grocery cart or something. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. That is an important part, but you're way more than your jeans. You've heard this before, your lipstick color. You're more than your body. This is just a housing unit, right? For our beautiful souls, for our beautiful selves. And you're even more than your mind, because believe it or not, there is, you've heard of the heart-mind connection. And when we connect heart and mind, boy, is that powerful. We understand that because that's when we get it. That's when things dial in, because we can understand things from a mind perspective, but do we necessarily understand it from a soul perspective? Because our heart is very much a part of our soul. Our heart's the thing that does all the big loving. This is how we expand the borders of our heart, by nurturing our beautiful selves. So we have to acknowledge this part of ourself. We can't just skip over it because we want to get to we want to get quick, show me the diet plan. I don't want to deal with the mindset. I don't want to deal with any of this stuff. I just want the diet. How many times have you done that when you bought a book? Oh, here's a big book. Or I saw this author on Good Morning America, therefore I went and bought her book, right? I want to look like her. I want to have the bikini bod. I want to have this, that, and the other thing. And what do? We immediately go to see what the plan is. We're not going to look at the mindset stuff. We're not going to look at all the other stuff. We just want to get down to the one thing. And I want to get us out of this one thing, because I believe that one thing can become our carousel of crazy. And oftentimes for women like you and me, it is this diet merry-go-round, and up and down and up and down, and just keep gaining and losing the same amount of weight and just keep on with the same crazy. And when you think about how much time, how much energy, how much room that craziness occupies our mind and takes up our lives, it truly is the carousel of crazy. Because at the end of our lives, we're not going to be laying on our deathbed saying, oh, gosh, I wish I'd gotten down to a size 6 jeans. We're not, you know, and yet that's where we're spending the lion's share of our lives. That's why I want to come back to this place of our beautiful selves and talking about the power of our own souls. We have to understand that. So the first thing we need to do, obviously, acknowledge it. Acknowledge that beautiful self so that we have a place of understanding of how powerful it really is, because that is the true and authentic you. That's the time when you feel a little quickening in your spirit. That's God nudging you. When you feel inside of your heart, you have this intuition that just wouldn't be a good thing, another nudge, you know, and that's your higher self connecting with your knowing, connecting with God. And it's just this big, beautiful communication center, really, because this is the acknowledgement of who you truly and really are. You think about that. How often do we really just sit there and just say, you know, today I'm going to sit down and nurture this part of myself? We don't. And that's one of the reasons. That's why we have the Take Back Your Life journal, which is around here somewhere. I think, oh, it's upstairs because I haven't finished mine yet this morning. But yeah, this is how we connect with all of that. And it's incredible. We've all heard the term soul searching too. Have you heard of that one? So here's what the dictionary says about this, which I think is really interesting. It's an examination of one's conscience, especially in regard to one's motives and values. Isn't that interesting? And if you notice, it's an evaluation of one's conscience, right? One's conscience. What is your conscience telling you? What are your motives? What are your values? What really truly shines in your life? Are you following this? You know, there's a lot of Bible beating going on, you know, thumping other people on the head with a Bible verse or such. And, you know, this judge not lest ye be judged. I think we kind of forget that. We also forget the whole thing is love one another, love, 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 always being told to love and love. Why do you think this keeps getting repeated? Because we so often get into our high little ivory towers and think we've got it all together. We think we know it all. And what is this except a distraction from the true part of who we are, our beautiful selves, the connection with God, the connection with our intuition, the connection with love and empathy and understanding, all of our knowing. That's all a part of who we are. That's our soul. And our soul's desire is to be heard. And our soul's desire, too, is to stop being searched for and to start being acknowledged. I think that's the truth. This searching for your soul. You know what? You know what's going. You know what your values are, don't you? You know what your motives are, don't you? You know what is really important to you. You've examined this stuff. And maybe you just haven't acted on it. And that's where we get out of alignment. That's where our alignment assignment really, truly, first and foremost needs to be, is with this stuff. It's the most important thing. So what do we need to do then? Here's what we need to do. We need to think about our thinking. That's number one. We've talked about this before. We have to evaluate our thoughts. Is it in alignment with our soul's desire? Is it in alignment with feeding a hungry soul? Is it in alignment with what we believe, with what we practice when we believe? Because that's oftentimes where the disenfranchisement happens, right? We say and profess that this is what we believe, and then we go out and do something nasty, you know? Can I tell you a story? You guys, for those of you who know my story about walking around the lake and me and my little hello t-shirt being super friendly to all the neighbors wanting to say hello. There was a neighbor here who was particularly nasty and did one of these, and his wife, you know, when I came back around a second time, which I had no choice to get back to home, his wife goes, "You again." And they didn't know me, except they probably could have figured out very easily that I live there because I am constantly going around. So the funny thing that happened is, so yesterday, I know that they have a boat. They have a small boat, bass fishing boat. And when they're there, because they have two homes. So when they're there, the boat is out in front. When they're not, they take it, crank it up, and pull it up, right? And so here's a little floaty thing that they have sitting right there by their dock. And I was looking at it and I said, well, wouldn't that be sad if somebody came along and poked it and it just, and I laughed about it. And then I thought, well, that's just evil, Leanne, that you would even think like that. And I told Mark last night, he was just like, what's wrong with you? But you know what? That's an examination of my heart right there. Because we all have this part of us that wants to get even. We all have this part of us that just wants to somehow, and this is what I was telling him last night, is just like the one part of me shrinks back and doesn't find my voice and just wants to be small and get out of the way and not be a part of this whole thing. You know, when the whole thing happened, I was gobsmacked for sure. But I also didn't, I should have said, you know, chill out, dude. Or, you know, I should have said something. Just acknowledging that what he did was just pretty off the wall and pretty not good. But instead I shrunk back. That's my first reflex. That's the old one that comes up from childhood, just quiet, not saying anything. That's like going to the hairdresser and getting your hair done, hating what she does, and go home and cry and tell her everything's fine. No, it's not. But this is what it is. So that's where it is on one side. And then on the other side of this very, you know, of our soul is just like, how do I get even? How do I pop his little thing and nobody knows? It's not like I would have ever done that. Please understand, I would have never done that. But why did that thought come up in the first place? Because there's the raw part of me, the lower part of me, the very lowest level is just, I want to get even. That guy he hurt my feelings, you know? Isn't that crazy? But you know what the middle part is? Where it's over here and I'm using an old behavior and it's over here and I'm having an extreme thought. But in the middle is, how do I develop a sense of love and care, even with these people who are really unloving and uncaring? That's the bottom line. That's the soul examination that I needed to do. And I had a big discussion with this about this with Mark, and just saying, falling into the middle and falling into the place of understanding that, boy, you know, God loves him just as much as he loves me. God gave them, you know, as much grace as he's given me. He just doesn't know how to handle himself. And maybe now I have a little empathy for him. That doesn't mean I need to have him over to the house and say, now I want to sing and dance and people please so that you'll be my friend. I'm willing to allow people to not like me, finally, after all these years. I'm willing to allow that to happen. It's going to happen, by the way. Whether you like it or not, people are just not going to be drawn to you. They're not going to want to be your friend. They don't want to be your gal. Okay. But guess what? You're still called to the power of your soul. You're still called to grow this beautiful self of yours. You're still called to nurture it. And you're still called to rise up and do better. We need to do that. We all need to do that. We all have to examine our conscience, and we all have to look at our motives and look at our values. My value and my motive there collided. My value is to love other humans, always, without judgment. But my motive, it just came in, boom, landed right in front of it. That's just not something that I want to do. And also our motives. I mean, what are our motives anyway? You know, what are we motivated by? Well, if we're motivated to help and to love and to care and to truly be a blessing to others, it's going to look a whole lot different than if we're trying to manipulate a situation and trying to weasel our way through something to get something out of it. It's just not cool. Not only is it not cool, but it's just super inauthentic. So we got to think, so how do we align ourselves then with the power of our soul? Number one, we have to think about our thinking. We have to evaluate our thoughts. Are they in alignment with our motives and our values? Are they? I just shared with you a very raw and dirty thought that I had, which wasn't kind. Wasn't even on the cusp of kind. It was way over here into childishness and paybackness. It's just crazy. Where did that come from? and the fact of the matter is we're not all, we're not just all roses and flower petals, are we? No, we've got we have some crappy things that we think about. I know it's not just me, so don't make me think that. Lisa says Jesus calls us to love the unloving, but sometimes it's hard to do. Of course, I don't think it's ever easy to do. It's never easy to love somebody who's unloving. I don't think so. But we also don't have to love them into our house and into our homes, and we don't have to love the unloving that way. We can love them from afar. We can still be caring. I don't believe that we need to put ourselves under their torturous spells, Number 2 is analyze your life. Where do you want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up? But analyze it not in the way that you're making this. It's an evaluation process. Like, I'm really doing well on this, but I'm really falling down over here. Not so that you can beat yourself up, but so you can correct it, or so you can come in and say, hey, this is where I am. How can I help? This is why we created the Take Back Your Life journal, by the way, and doing it in 12 weeks, so that you have a chance to correct and to fix and to add to and to take away from and to see, wow, look how much better my life is 12 weeks later. Because we have to do this with things in mind. That's why our visions are so important. Did I bring my vision board down? No, it's way over there. I can't show you. But I will make a point about the vision board here in just a minute, because I think that's part of how we find out about the power and really harness the power of our souls. We also, number 3, is we need to build onto or add to our new relationship. This is the whole thing. And this is part of my deal that I put in. It's in the Take Back Your Life journal, but we're looking at our whole lives. We're looking at our work. We're looking at our spiritual lives, our intellectual lives. We're looking at our relationships. We're looking at all of those. And I put in there that to really nurture and go after, and I'm paraphrasing everything. I don't have it with me to read to you right now, what my relationship, all of my relationships, and to be consciously aware that in order for me to practice my values, I need to be saying something and doing something. So a lot of you know that we really worked hard to help Caroline and Sam find a house. That whole thing has been put together. But they came back and they were so much gratitude. We're here, they're not. But the thing that really sent it for me, it was just not like I will do anything in my power, but was also, this is an opportunity for us to build a better relationship by serving. Not Crazy Town. We didn't do Crazy Town. We did it in the way that we could. And also for me, it was like, this is another way that we build more into that relationship. We do by serving. We do by appreciation. What is the Love Languages by Gary Chapman? If you haven't read that, the 4 Love Languages, read that book. Or 5 languages, isn't it? 5, that's right. We need to be reading these books. We need to understand that this is how we love. This is, and when we love somebody according to what their love language is, maybe a word at a perfect time. What is it? What are they? A pearl. That's what it says in Proverbs, that the spoken word, I can't remember the verse. Somebody help me out. But the word spoken at the right time is like a pearl, blah, blah, blah. Somebody give it to me. I know somebody knows it. But that's exactly what it is. And when we do this, we're building those relationships. What does that do for your heart? What does it do for your soul? How does that nurture? How does that build that relationship? I feel closer to my kids, to Caroline and Sam, that I have. And I'm so delighted that they're going to be so close. I'm so delighted that we got to be a part of their solution. We got to help them, and not in a handout kind of way, but in really just being the hands and feet. They needed hands and feet while they were looking around, and we got to do that for them. We get to do that with each other. And I think that when we build our relationships, we get to do things. And by the way, servanthood and serving others, isn't that also part of the love languages? Don't remember. But I know that when we say a word of encouragement, when we tell somebody that they're so appreciated and they appreciate what they've done, that when we say please and thank you, even with somebody that we've been in relationship for a lot of years, thank you for the lovely date. These are the kind of pearls. This is the ear candy, really, that our loved ones need to hear from us. It builds. It only builds. And number 4 is to cultivate passion. Have you connected that with your soul? I know that you feel this. A lot of you have told me about your different habits and hobbies and whatnot, like, handwork and what have you. What does that feel like when you finish a piece, right? What does that feel like when you've done crocheting this beautiful handwork? What does it feel like to have that done? There's a little part of your heart that just jumps for joy, doesn't it? It's really something to get that done. And I will tell you that when we cultivate our passion in what it is that we're doing, we're cultivating our soul. We need that kind of nurture because it's acknowledging this is what you love. This is what you like to do. And when you do it, you're feeding your heart. You're feeding your soul. You're feeding your beautiful self. Number 5 is practice your spirituality. And you know what? Guess what? You get to define that. I know that there's a lot of, I often say that I went on a big sabbatical from church. I had a really miserable experience in a couple of places, and I finally got to the position and the place, and I'm not going to sit here and give you my spiritual spiel of what I believe and all of that. I do prefer to keep that private, but you do know that I am a believer. I am. But I also practice my faith a little bit differently than a lot of folks. I don't feel like I have to belong to a Bible study, or I have to belong to a church, or I have to belong to all these different things. I don't believe that. What I do believe, though, is that if I can practice in my life what the Bible says, it's going to be a whole lot better than smacking people around with Bible verses. The most important thing that I have learned in my whole life is that we have to have a practice of spirituality. And that's not an attendance thing. Sorry, but it's not an attendance thing. It is how does this apply to your life? How do you apply this in what it is that you do? Are you sitting there and judging and saying, you're in sin and you're in sin and you're in sin? I mean, who are you really? Are you sitting on the right hand of God? No, you're not. And, we all look at and judge and interpret different parts of the Bible differently. So who am I to say? A while ago when I can't remember what it was, but there was some woman who was trolling me and Marla at the same time, and on Facebook, and anytime we talk about something, she'd say divorced woman. And for her, she'd gone through, and her belief system was, you're divorced, well, you're fallen, and you're not going to heaven, and this, that, and the, and it just bristled me. But then I realized this is just one person who everybody's got their own little interpretation. If you don't believe me, tell me how many Presbyterian churches there are. Tell me how many different sects there are of all these amazing churches, right? And is this the true one and all these other ones aren't? Who are you to say that? And then, listen, I was in a church where they prided themselves on debate, on debating each other, and we took that evangelical guy down, or we took that so-and-so down with their debates. And I'm like, and Jesus says you'll know them by their love. I don't see that as loving. It's one-upsmanship all the way. And sorry, I didn't mean to get into this, but, can't we just drop all the pretense and start loving each other? Stop it. Nobody has an exact interpretation and can say, I've got it all together. We like to think that, don't we? But it's just not true. It's not true. And I like to think that God is upstairs and he's just going, oh, these humans, I don't even know what to do with you. It's like your kids squabbling constantly. I mean, that's truly what it is. So we have to practice spiritually how we believe, but we also have to do it in a very loving, a very gentle, and a very open way so that we're not excluding people and telling them they're all going to hell. I mean, come on. This is kind of sad, isn't it? Ugh. There's a certain, I won't say what religion it is, but, there's a certain, that they only believe a certain amount of people are going to heaven, everybody else is going to hell. And then they just proselytize the living daylights out of you. And I have somebody in my own family doing that. And it just makes me sad because that's the focus. Shouldn't we focus on love? Isn't that what we're told over and over again to do? So sorry, I did get on a little bit of a soapbox. Sorry, but I just can't help it. It just seems so bizarre to me. The last thing is that we need to attach to our vision, the vibrant vision of what we want for our lives, because that's our soul's desire. But we also need to detach what it's going to look like. And I use that, I'm not going to get up and show you my butt because I would just don't do that. But this is exactly the thing. I have on my vision board this picture of a dock and a lake, and obviously from the vantage point of being on a house or something, because there's the dock, there's the lake, and there's also trees hanging, and it's very different than what I have here. I wasn't attached to that vision. I was attached to the idea of what that vision represented. Did you get that? That's what we need to do, because what we are wanting in our lives oftentimes isn't going to come out exactly what our vision is. So if we hold on to it and attach to the idea of and not the exact thing, we're going to get that beautiful idea in return. That's what the reticular activating system is looking for, not your exact thing, because if you get attached to the exact thing and you don't exactly get it, you're going to be really disappointed because everything's going to be a no. I want you to have the love of your life to be your own soul, your own beautiful self, because this is the part that lights up and connects with God, others, love, empathy, and just acts and beautiful acts of kindness. It's what detaches us from pettiness and popping somebody's floaty thing. I mean, come on. It's what brings us back to center and brings us back to the authentic person of who we are. The woman who you are is way more than your jean size, way more than your lipstick, and way more than your thoughts, your body, your house, everything. It's all about the beautiful self that's inside of you. It's your soul. It's your attachment to God. And it's how we live in harmony when we're in alignment. Have you noticed the difference? And have you also noticed the difference that when you spend time meditating, when you spend time in prayer, when you spend time reading a sacred book like the Bible, when you spend time in this and you just allow the word to marinate into you, that's when you start to really believe and become. I believe that's what we're called to do. We're called, each one of us by name, loved, and more loved. Elaine says, yes, I want that connection. Yes, we all want that connection. Our connection is with ourselves. And when we're connected to ourselves, understand what's going on there, then we can connect with God, because it's just really, truly weird how that all happens, because, we think we just got to go to God and just let ourselves, let that go. But if we don't recognize who we are, how do we connect? I hope that makes sense. Anyway, that's how I look at it. Works for me. You need to find, you have your own spiritual practice, don't we all? Find it and practice it. Connect with your beautiful self. And remember this, there is power in your soul when you understand who you are and how God sees you too. How much love he has for you. You are the apple of his eye, here on purpose and for purpose. And all of this magnificent stuff starts to unfold in front of us when we just merely start to believe. That's it. Start to believe and start to know that it's all going to show up purposefully and on time. I know that's true. And I believe it with all my heart. And I hope you found today helpful. Peace be with you.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.